When the noise fades away in the dead of night, gazing at the shifting shadows outside the window, do you ever feel an unspeakable helplessness, like a fallen leaf drifting helplessly amid a raging storm? In medieval Japan, an empire forged from blood, intrigue and swords, there lived a serene general whose life became an epic legend. He never craved fame or glory, yet from the moment he was born, fate cast him into the eye of the storm where power struggles raged fiercely. To the public, he was the third shogun of the Kamakura Shogunate, the rightful heir of the Minamoto clan, ruling over vast lands that commanded the allegiance of countless samurai. But hidden from the world, he lived like a reclusive hermit, quietly observing life and death behind high walls. Tonight, by the gentle glow of the fire, let us follow this unhurried tale and step into his world. This poet, who upheld his dignity through Waka poems and pinned his soul on the dream of sailing across the sea, was Minamoto no Sanetomo. This is a story of spiritual perseverance and defiance against destiny. People know he stood apart among fierce warriors with his gentle scholarly demeanor, and that he met a brutal ambush amid heavy snow at Tsurugaka Hachimangu at the hands of his own kin. Yet few truly understand that this figure, who captured the emptiness and transience of the turbulent times in his verses, was in truth a quiet, reserved soul dwelling deep in solitude. Now relax your body, let your breath steady along with the flickering flames. We are about to travel back to that fateful moment when fate began to unravel and a silent tempest brewed in the air. In the year 1203, an air of cold gloom hung over Kamakura in autumn. Waves crashed relentlessly against the gray shore of Yokohama, like a lifeless giant sculpture of ice. On that night, 11-year-old Minamoto no Sanetomo sat alone in a dim side chamber of the samurai residence. A pale mist shrouded the sky outside, his expression calm and composed, revealing no trace of emotion. Just days earlier, his elder brother, the second shogun Minamoto no Yori, had been exiled to Aizu by their grandfather Hojo Tokumasa in a ruthless power coup, and was assassinated soon after. Endowed with an innate love for literature and profound reverence for principles, the young boy was suddenly thrust onto the seat of the shogun by blood-stained warriors. It was a chaotic era when the old aristocratic system crumbled and warrior clans seized control. Thin and frail, devoted to poetry instead of warfare, Sanetomo was nothing more than a puppet in the eyes of the powerful Hojo clan. Before long, the rivalry between his grandfather Hojo Tokumasa and his mother Hojo Masako turned the entire residence into a potential battlefield. The agony of family betrayal, the cold stares of warriors, and the constant threat of assassination weighed heavily on his shoulders. Alone behind closed doors each day, he listened to the clink of armor outside. Chronic stress plunged him into an arduous inner struggle. It was the first crack wrought by fate, a choice between being manipulated as a pawn, or finding spiritual freedom in the realm of literature. Late at night, he looked at his pale reflection in the mirror, worn out by prolonged pressure yet still retaining his elegant features. He smoothed his faded traditional robe. He shed no tears, nor poured out his resentment for power on paper. Instead, he accepted the uncertain future with gentle yet unyielding resolve. He knew swords and spears could never mend the broken world. With nothing but a brush and ink, he built an unbreakable spiritual fortress for his soul against all violence. As he grew older, Sanetomo refused to be corrupted by the quagmire of politics, embracing an artistic pursuit that baffled the upper ranks of the Hojo clan. He secluded himself indoors for long stretches, studying the refined classical Waka style under Fujiwara no Taika, the most distinguished poet of Kyoto. In these 31-syllable verses depicting the changing seasons, waves beating against rocks and the impermanence of life, he displayed an extraordinary mastery of subtle expression that astounded his age. Yet powerful forces soon sought to bend the young shogun to their will. To the Hojo rulers, Sanetomo was no longer merely a poet, but a symbol that maintained the balance among regional lords and controlled vast territories and interests. Intrusion followed into his private quarters. Retainers urged him to abandon his melancholy verses steeped in nihilism, and compose odes to glorify samurai bravery instead, so as to strengthen control over the warrior class. It was a subtle suppression that wore down many gifted minds, turning them into tools for political schemes. Gentle as he appeared, Sanetomo possessed an unshakable spirit, cold and firm as ice within. He understood that compromise would ruin his last pure sanctuary, reducing his poetry to empty political flattery. Staking his future against the will of the entire warrior class, he held his ground firmly. He often fell silent amid their persuasion, gazing out the window before returning to his writing desk. There he penned his immortal lines: "The sea rages, rocks shatter, yet though my life may end, my poetic spirit shall never fade." In this silent contest of wills, he preserved his dignity as an independent creator, securing an enduring place for the Golden Pagoda collection of Waka in history. In the late autumn of 1216, when cold rain drenched the maple leaves in the courtyard, 24-year-old Minamoto no Sanetomo made a bold decision that puzzled all. No longer content to seek solace merely in writing, he resolved to flee the harsh reality in a tangible way. He secretly summoned Shen Huqing, a skilled craftsman from Song dynasty China, and issued an order that shocked the entire Kamakura Shogunate, to build a massive ocean-going ship on the shores of Yokohama, gathering tens of thousands of laborers and unlimited funds for a voyage across the vast sea to the land of Song. This seemingly reckless dream caused an uproar among the Hojo leaders. His grandfather and mother repeatedly visited him with stern warnings, demanding that he abandon the impractical plan. To politicians and merchants, any huge expenditure that brought no territorial gains was a waste. Many visionaries surrendered to such worldly logic, but Sanetomo remained stubborn as ice. He saw Kamakura as a cruel slaughterhouse, where every glance around him was tainted with intrigue. For him, the great ship was the longest Waka poem written upon the waves, a silent rebellion against the violent and restless era. During the months of construction, he often stood alone on the frigid beach late at night, wrapped in a cloak, watching massive timber beams being assembled beneath the moonlight to the sound of laborers at work. The public accused him of extravagance and irrationality, yet he never offered a single word of defense. For on this shore free from official duties, he finally breathed freely once more as an ordinary man. Fate eventually brought his dream of sailing away to a bitter and ironic end. The shore of Yokohama was shallow and choked with silt. When the grand ship, embodying all his hopes for deliverance, was finally launched before a crowd of onlookers, its heavy hull ran firmly aground. No matter how the tides rose and fell, it could not drift out to sea. Standing on the viewing platform, 25-year-old Sanetomo watched the stranded vessel tilt in the sunset. He felt no anger or sorrow, only a quiet, gentle smile in his lonely eyes. He realized that the chains of fate would never let him leave this land, and his life was destined to be sacrificed to the cruel regime of Kamakura. Returning home late that night, he locked himself in his study, put aside all the ship's blueprints, and devoted himself wholeheartedly to writing his final Waka poems with rigorous self-discipline. His verses dwelled on letting go, melting spring snow and falling leaves. Keenly aware of the mounting pressure, he knew his own kin lurked in the shadows, ready to strike. In an age obsessed with ruthless power struggles and territorial expansion, Sanetomo stood like a solitary stone statue, clinging fast to his spiritual integrity. Denied escape from this cruel cage, he dedicated himself to pure artistic creation, building a peaceful haven to soothe the anxious souls of others in the darkest times. On January 27, 1219, a snowy New Year's Eve etched forever in history, heavy snow blanketed Tsuragaka Hachimangu in pure white. At 26, Sanetomo seemed to hear the ticking of fate as he prepared for the shrine ritual. He adjusted his elegant white ceremonial robes before the mirror, then turned to his long-serving retainer and recited his final Waka: "I go forth and shall not return, let the plum blossom still greet the spring in the courtyard." As he ascended the shrine steps amid swirling snow, a figure sprang out from the shadows. A cold blade pierced his chest in an instant. The assassin was none other than Kugyo, his nephew and the orphan of Minamoto no Yori, a young man manipulated by the Hojo clan's schemes into becoming a tool of vengeance. There were no desperate cries or dramatic scenes. As snowflakes fell onto his warm blood and gradually covered the crimson stains, Sanetomo lay there with the same serene and refined expression he had always borne. It was a tragic end. He had spent his whole life using 31-syllable poems to resist hypocrisy and brutality, yet fate struck him down through family strife. With his passing, the direct bloodline of the Minamoto shoguns came to an end, leaving the Golden Pagoda collection of Waka an unfinished enigma that endured for centuries. Yet beyond grief, people discovered profound wisdom in his surviving manuscripts. Though his mortal life was lost, his tranquil philosophies lived on, bringing peace to countless hearts through the ages. As time goes by and the bustle of the world fades away, let us look back on the life of Minamoto no Sanetomo and unravel the questions about emptiness and dignity raised at the beginning. What legacy did this misunderstood poet general leave behind? Was it his timeless collection of Waka poems, or the grace and integrity he showed in the face of inescapable fate? Truly, he bequeathed to the world a way of living, to remain disciplined and calm of heart, even after seeing the harsh realities of life. On this quiet night by the dim firelight, when we picture the slender, aloof figure who spent his life seeking light at his writing desk, we no longer feel sorrow for his unfulfilled dream of escape, but find peace and relief instead. Through 26 years of solitude and restraint, he endured the inevitable losses and sorrows of life for us all, teaching us to face our own hardships with grace and courage. That great ship forever stranded on the shore of Yokohama has long taken on new meaning in every heart. As long as we hold fast to purity and tenderness in dark times, we will never be defeated by fate. The night has grown deep, and the noise of the city has faded into slumber. After hearing this story, may you relax your tense brows and lay down your weariness in warm bedding. Let worries about the future and regrets of the past drift away, turning into gentle dreams tonight. Close your eyes now, and drift into peaceful sleep as the faint light fades. Good night.